Listen.
Posłuchaj.
Écoute.
Escucha. MCO.
Listen.
MCO.
MCO.
Between the Bars.
I'm Yannick Dondolanger. You're listening to Between the Bars, the podcast of the Mahler Chamber Orchestra. You're not saying there's no way back from climate change.
I'm not a scientist and I'm not God. But I would like to die in dignity as a human being. And I'm very sorry that I left this planet in this condition to my daughter.
Right.
Oh.
Violinist Patricia Kopatchinskaja took me completely off guard with her response to what I thought to be a carefully worded question about what to do next in tackling the climate crisis. But on reflection, the honesty of her conviction that global warming might already be game over shouldn't have come as such a shock, knowing that she motivates herself by calling out the topics that others tend to tiptoe around. At the age of 45, Kopatchinskaja doesn't feel the need anymore to surprise audiences for the show of it, or rebel for youthfulness' sake. Her public are starting to understand what she's trying to say in her performances. And at this stage in her life, the artistic message is not about what's important for Patricia Kopatchinskaja, but instead what's important for all of us. I interviewed her backstage in Hamburg, on tour during Les Adieux, or translated to English, Many Goodbyes. You've just been listening to a clip of music from it. Les Adieux is a specially staged theatrical concert, Patricia's latest creation with the Mahler Chamber Orchestra, and her eyewitness testimony, if you like, to what we, Homo sapiens, have done to our home, planet Earth. And I can say it's not comfortable listening. Over the next 3 episodes of Between the Bars, I listen as Patricia bids a painful and poignant farewell to traditions, to nature, to the animal kingdom, to the human race, and most intimately, to herself. It's the big goodbye. If you had to think spontaneously, what does goodbye mean to you?
It is the time we are living in. Many indications are for an end, not a good end, with us human beings. I mean, reading in newspapers what happens all around the world, and not only wars, but it's also all about resources which are getting less and less. And the overpopulation, more and more people. It is mathematically clear to anyone that it's not going to work like this anymore. And somewhere we have to change completely our mind, our way of life, the paradigm, the rules which are established in our heads that, for example, to be happy means to have more. But Les Adieux is a project which was an idea for a long time in my head. I wanted to make a juxtaposition between pastorale, the Verherrlichung der Natur.
The nature?
Glorification.
Nature.
Yeah. I always wanted to make a juxtaposition between the glorification of the nature and what we actually did with the nature. Where are we now at the moment? I don't know how is it possible to play a pastorale today and to believe into the beauty and the happy end and the normality of what we get from the nature. It is not endless, and using it all the time, selling it, everything what we find, we sell. At a certain point, there will be nothing, and we will be starving. We will have huge problems. And playing pastorale is a lie if we just continue to put it into a kitschy frame.
So are you saying this kitschy frame is in a way keeps the audience in a state of sleep, and you are needing them to wake up?
Yes, the audience in a concert hall is expecting every time something like a wellness. They want to be comforted or to see something beautiful, because they think that art is to show them the beauty of the sugar side of the life. But I think it's not that.
I often wonder if listening to a beautiful piece of music is a form of therapy. You might be going through something in your life that's not very nice, or else, as we are in the time now, where we have these difficulties with war and with climate, and you need a rest from it, and then you have your Beethoven therapy session.
Well, I have nothing against beauty, but the beauty has always a shadow. And if you also show it, then it becomes a bigger range of what we call truth. It's not just a surface. A beautiful surface of a sea, there is always a shark under it. I mean, I'm not interested in empty beauty, in just beauty. It is always very much together with so many other things.
Thinking back to the first rehearsals and the opening of the Pastoral Symphony, from the first note, I think we were quite shocked and awakened by your approach to shake up our established, trained ideas of interpreting this piece. And what I found interesting, what I felt you were implying, you can disagree with me totally, during rehearsals was that Beethoven's nature writing over decades and centuries had been forced into this metric box made by teachers and conductors and performing traditions. But you want the MC instead of boxing the sounds to follow his music of nature. So you follow the music where it goes instead of boxing it in. Would you say that's a fair?
Well, what is the tradition of interpretation? It doesn't have anything to do with the music. It's like a broken telephone, this game. You say something and then it goes over and over generations, and in the end it's a complete nonsense. It's a thick layer of fat and dust together. It's like a very old picture then where you see only the dust and the darkness of the time. And when you start to clean it, then you discover incredible bright colors and life in these pictures. All these middle-aged Madonnas, they all had red cheeks, and they were super joyful. So I think also it's a big problem to write down the music. As soon as you put the notes on the paper, it has to become a form, a length, speed, expression. This is almost impossible. It's an illusion and a misunderstanding that playing the notes which we see is the music. Music is behind the notes, between the notes. The story which these notes are telling us. And the first problem is already the paper. This is the first jail. This is a prison of music. And then we are the next prison, because we don't incorporate it, but we think that we have just to execute what we see in the right way. But there are no right way. The way is always new. We have to be as inspired as Beethoven was in that moment.
Yes.
And this is not an arrogancy of us. It is a huge humbleness and trying to bring us to the point where we don't know anything. And there is no tradition. It is just the nature, the source, the composer, and us.
Like the ultimate or text.
The ultimate. And we are not the last station. We are also kind of... we have to bring it into the minds and hearts of listeners. And they will understand it in their way, hopefully in different ways. They will understand it as their minds are constructed, with their vocabulary.
Natürliches Wasser mit dem 15-fachen an Sauerstoff.
Wer ausgeglichen ist, hat mehr vom Leben. Bon Aqua, Balanced Table Water, auch als Medium und still.
Durch 6 vulkanische Gesteinsschichten gefiltert, erhält Volvic seine spezifische Mineralisierung. Volvic nimmt das Gute aus der Natur auf und gibt es an ihren Körper weiter. Volvic, von Natur aus gut.
Kann man auch was anderes trinken als Vitell?
Selters. Ein reines Wasser muss durch einen tiefen Stein. Selters.
Now, towards the end of the opening movement of the Pastoral comes the first of what will be a number of disrupting events that pause Beethoven's pastoral scenes in their tracks, video and audio reels of real events from around the world. Can you tell us about these disruptions? What are you saying with these disruptions?
Well, I was very inspired by YouTube. They put so much advertising inside, more and more. Through the years, I cannot listen one piece of music without being interrupted. Same in the television. You cannot watch a movie without being interrupted. So somehow it became a daily thing that we always have to deal with somehow.
A distraction.
It is a distraction. We are very, very much distracted because it's too much unnecessary information at wrong time. And I thought that Pastorale should be interrupted because this cannot be seen anymore as a line. This line doesn't exist anymore. This is all broken. So many things are destroyed. The woods, the sea, birds, we. What we eat, what we do, how we behave.
Now to the mystery surrounding a huge flock of birds that suddenly plunged to the ground in Mexico. It happened earlier this month. We want to warn you, the video you're about to see is graphic. The video is chilling too. It shows the yellow-headed blackbirds suddenly fall from the sky. Many of them died, others did fly away, and the reason behind their rapid plunge remains unclear.
I know in the original concept you wanted to have a real tree being sawn in half on stage. And in the end, we have television images with the sounds of trees being sawn down. I'm trying to play at that moment, so it's difficult to sort of appreciate what's going on. As a performer and a commentator yourself, when do you think you can be symbolic and when do you really need to be concrete about what you're saying?
Well, I think we have to be more and more concrete because people really don't care anymore. And when we come with this strong approach on stage in a classical concert where they never saw something like this, being distracted, confronting them with what is the dark side of this pastorale, reminding them what happens today with this nature that we love so much, that is so beautiful and that is so wonderful, and all these words without any worth anymore, because it's just words. I think it's a strong statement and a must. I don't know if I want to hear music always in this disruptive way, but once we do it, I think it's important to do it like this.
And you hope that even though there's a disruption for the listener, they understand the meaning behind it. It's not a...
I think everybody will understand it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Good.
What happens with...
I'm glad you say that.
with our forests. It's absolutely clear. How can we play das lustige Zusammensein der Leute? It's not lustig anymore. Not funny. Not funny at all.
Actually, the message is very clear the way you portray it, yes.
I think so.
Das lustige Zusammensein der Landleute. In English, the merry get-together of country people. It's the third movement of Beethoven's Pastoral Symphony, and you're listening to the Mahler Chamber Orchestra, led by Patricia Kopatchinskaja, performing it together in Hamburg. A hedonistic folk dance of pre-industrial, pre-climate crisis, early 19th century pastoral romanticism. Oh, to have been there, to warn Beethoven. And maybe even George Stephenson, Isambard Kingdom Brunel, Andrew Carnegie, John D. Rockefeller, Ludwig Bamberger, Friedrich Bayer, Karl Benz, Hugo Junkers, and many, many more famous industrialists, to warn them how things would go down in the 21st century. Except you're not supposed to know your destiny. That's too much to handle, they say. And yet, according to Les Adieux, we are writing our funerals as I speak, for the animals, for humans, for the planet. Destiny has caught up with us. Here comes that chainsaw. See you next time for part 2 of The Big Goodbye, when Patricia Kopatchinskaja talks about our destiny, about finding your home, and her childhood in a country she says is now lost to her. Goodbye. So you can see what me and Patricia Kopatchinskaja have been talking about. The Les Adieux concert is available to stream on YouTube and also the website of the Elbphilharmonie Concert Hall. Just go to the menu and select Mediatek. Thank you to Abraham Copiero, who you heard at the opening of the episode, performing on a Carnix instrument. And of course to Patricia Kopatchinskaja and the musicians of the Mahler Chamber Orchestra for their performance of Beethoven's Pastoral Symphony. Les Adieux is a co-production of Ludwigsburger Schlossfestspiele, Stiftung Berliner Philharmoniker, Elbphilharmonie Hamburg, and the Mahler Chamber Orchestra. This episode has been generously supported by the German Federal Government Commissioner for Culture and the Media through Neustart Kultur, a funding program for digital content production in cultural organizations. Don't forget, there are other episodes of Between the Bars to listen to, and you can email with any thoughts you have to podcast@mahlerchamber.com, or if you prefer, leave a review or a rating on Apple or Spotify. Between the Bars team is Matthias Meyer, Rick Willebrotz, and me, Yannick Dondelanger. Don't forget, keep listening.
Between the Bars.